Hey class, welcome back to Chapter 10, Statistics and Probability. Today we're looking at Exercise 10C, dot plots, column graphs, and bar graphs, okay? So we can display data in different ways, all right, just depending on sometimes the type of data that we have. What's important is that when we're plotting data in the form of a graph that we're using a ruler, okay? We're trying to keep things nice and evenly spaced. And we like to put a title, we like to put labels, and we like to put a legend if that's required. So sometimes we don't need a legend. Today's example, we're not going to need a legend. So we're not going to need to say, well, this color represents this, or this color means this. We're going to jump straight in with an example so that of an example of a dot plot and a column graph, and then we'll discuss what a bar graph is before you guys attempt the work for yourselves today. All right, so we've got some data on the screen, okay? It's just a bunch of words at the moment. We're going to display it as a dot plot and a column graph. Now I'm going to start with the dot plot first, and then I'll convert that to a column graph. They're very, very similar, okay? So what I find helps with a long list like this is to cross things out again, like we did with our previous exercise. We cross things out as we go so that we know we haven't doubled up. So I don't have a ruler on my computer, and that's okay. I'm just going to try and draw a nice straight line along my x-axis, and that was a terrible line, so I'm going to try it one more time, and if it doesn't work, well, oh, that's a little bit better. Okay, I'm going to call, instead of writing the whole word sugar glider, I'm just going to write S for sugar glider. Okay, I'm going to be a little bit lazy with it today. Now, I have one sugar glider so far, so I'm going to put a dot in, and I'm going to sort of color it in a little bit. Okay, so it's a nice big dot, and I'm going to cross it out. My next animal on the list is an echidna. So I'm going to again put a nice big dot there, and I'm going to cross it out. My next animal is a kangaroo, so I'm going to go K for kangaroo, put a dot, and cross it out. My next animal is a koala. Now, I've already got K for kangaroo, so I might use KO for koala, and I'm going to place a dot. I've got another koala. I'm just going to place another dot above that. So this is how we start to get our dot plot. Okay, I've got another sugar glider on the list. I've got a red-eyed tree frog. I'm just going to write R for that one. Another koala, sorry, so we'll place another dot. Wombat, we'll put a W for wombat because we haven't seen that one yet. Kangaroo, which we put as just K. Dingo, I need maybe one more for D. And wombat again. Koala again, and finally our last sugar glider. All right, so what we have on the screen is a dot plot. It's a little bit messy, and that's okay. What you might notice is that all of the dots are sort of in line. Okay, what that means is that it's really easy for us to see, well, if this was a list of preference or people's favorite Australian animal, we can see really clearly just by looking at it that koala here wins because they've got the highest column or the tallest column of dots. Okay, hopefully we can also see, and I'm just going to switch colors one more time, that the gaps between each of these little spaces is pretty even. So that's what we mean when we say even scale. Okay, we're talking about the gaps between each of our columns or each of our bits of dots. All right, now let's convert that to a column graph. Okay, so we can see from the dot plot, because we've already done it, I need to go as tall as 4. So I'm going to go 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. It's not very straight, but again, you'll use your books and a ruler, hopefully. Okay. You can also, if you don't have your, oh, I've just wiped the whole line. That's okay. You can also just use the markings in your book. I'm just going to erase the whole thing and start again, okay? You can also use the markings in your book or the lines in your book that you normally write on as your columns. So if we used 4 lines tall, we'd have evenly spaced graphs as well because they're all evenly spaced. Okay, and we go as high as 0. We're going to call this frequency. So that's where we're talking about how often or how frequent something pops up, and that's what we mean by axis labeled. All right? I'm now going to move across, and I want the same things along the x-axis, all right? So, except I might write the actual word this time, so let's see if I can fit it in. Sugar glider, and you can write on an angle. Sugar glider, echidna we had, And you could have written them all on there anyway. I'm going to go kanga for kangaroo, koala. We had a red-eyed tree frog. I'm just going to write frog, just because it's a very awkward angle for me to write on. Wombat. And finally we had dingo. Okay. And we might put just animal or favorite animal, or it could just be favorite animal. Maybe that's our title. We can make one up. Okay. And then it's maybe quite obvious that we've got our categories down the bottom. Okay. Now we're just drawing the columns. So for the sugar glider, we had 3. So we're going to draw the column. I'm going to center it. It's not going to be drawn very well because I'm not using a ruler, but we're going to draw the column up to the 3. For echidna, we'll draw it up to 1. Kangaroo, we had 2, so we're going to draw it as high as 2 for our frequency. Koala, we had 4. It's very wonky. The frog, we had 1. The wombat, we had 2. And a dingo, we had just 1 person liked the dingo. Now, again, hopefully you're using a ruler and it is not as wonky as whatever is happening here. Okay, we want nice and straight lines where possible. But if you don't have one, use the edge of your book, your textbook, another pen, a pencil, just something to sort of keep them straight. Just a couple of key features on this graph, guys. You might notice we've got a bit of a gap at the start. So the first column doesn't touch the y-axis, or this axis, the frequency, and we've got gaps in between all of the columns as well. Hopefully they're evenly spaced, so really we want all of these little gaps in here, in between, to be the same size, okay, same as this one. And we also kind of want the columns to be the same width. Now, give that a go. If that doesn't work for you and you just want to draw it roughly and sketch it like I have, that's okay. I'll allow it for this one, but we're going to work on drawing some really lovely graphs as we move forward. All right. That concludes today's lesson. We didn't need a legend for this particular graph because there wasn't different types of data, okay? I wasn't looking at maybe male and female preferences, in which case I could split the columns, or I could have different dot plots or stack them on top of each other, or I might have blue columns for, I don't know, I might have like half the column is blue for the boys' preference and half of it is pink. Or maybe half the boys' preferences are pink and the girls' preferences are in blue. I don't know. Okay, so that concludes today's lesson. As always, guys, if you have any questions, let me know. But otherwise, good luck with the work and I'll speak to you all very soon.